All right, I don't know if this is working, but I think it is. Just thought I'd pop in here trying to figure out this live stream stuff and we could chat about milling machines. Not much information out there, so I figured might be kind of fun to get on here and talk about it a little bit. So one topic I know that's been coming up a lot, people have been wanting to know about, is slope. So what is slope? Well, what slope basically is on your machine is kind of, picture it like a level. So the slope control is pretty much exactly what the sensor is a level inside the machine. And you have your reference side, which we'll say is this side. And then you have your level. So your reference side can stay in one place and your level can move up and down. And that's your slope setting. So say you have it set to slope down and your reference side stays the same. Now, as you're going along, the machine is going to stay right there at that level. If you bring your reference side up, the machine will stay at that level. Move down, it'll stay at that level. So that's basically what slope is. And so it's very important that your reference side is accurate. Most of the time, your reference side is like a new curb and gutter or fresh new pavement that's been put in next to an existing roadway, or sometimes it's a string line. Could be many things like that. So that keeps it stable so that it has a good reference to cut. And then after that, whatever's happening on the slope side doesn't matter because the machine is going to level it out and hold that slope angle. Hope that helps, but a lot of times what happens is slope is used when it probably shouldn't be used. Either when you don't have a good reference or the slope changes on the road and you don't have the slope numbers to dial it in with it like you would grade numbers. You can do that too. Sometimes they'll write on the ground like, 2% here, 2.1% here, 2.3% here, back to 1.8% here. And then you can follow that with your slope numbers as you go. And that's one way you can use it, or you can hold it at, say, a 2% slope and adjust your reference side hitting the numbers they put on the ground, say 4 inches to 5 to 6, back to 4 to 3 as you're going. And that'll basically be creating your reference side, and your slope will hold the other side steady for you. Most of the time, slope is used as a shortcut for, like, say you're grinding along and you come to a spot where you have to buzz the side of a manhole that you just jumped. Well, you can either dial your grade in, dial your grade back out as you go over it. You can shut the automatic off completely and let it go through it. But then if there's anything the tracks are going to run over, it's going to pick the machine up and be like this as you go through and not be even. Or what you can do if the ground is fairly flat, you know that it's consistent, is you just match and switch to slope really quick and you go through it. When the side plate comes back down the other side and into your cut again, you switch back over to grade. So that's one way to do that. I'm not seeing anybody in the chat yet. That's okay. I'm just making sure the software is working. So hopefully that means nobody's there. But you'll see this on the replay, so that's fine. Took me a while to get the technical difficulties worked out. And then at the end of the cut, slope is good for that too. Instead of dialing your depth in to make your match at the end of the cut, you can just switch to slope right as your side plate is getting ready to hit the edge and climb over it. You just switch to slope right there and it'll hold the machine steady for you. That's really good if the tracks are over piles or junk on the ground or whatever, because the slope, again, is going to hold that angle no matter what. So even if the tracks are driving over stuff, the machine is going to be, this level. It's going to sit there no matter what. It goes over and hold that angle. And so it's not really a big mystery. I've put a video up really quick before about what the symbols mean on the screen, how to switch to slope, how to match as you're grinding, how on the FI models now they have where you can push that button. Looks like a little padlock to me, but you push that button and it will automatically instantly match and switch to slope, or then match and switch back to grade. So that's really, really handy. So that's really all there is about slope. I'll put out another video maybe about this later on, and see. Let's see. I think I missed something here. Nope, I didn't. So that's the main thing. And a lot of times too, it's like once you understand the system, you don't want to let contractors try to talk you into using slope when you know it's going to mess it up and it's not going to work right, or you don't have a proper reference, because the person that's going to get blamed is going to be you for it not going well. You got to kind of look at the situation and know what they're trying to achieve and kind of coach them along of how to make it work. Like if you know that the road is going like this and they want you to match perfectly to a new curb, you can't run slope, because your slope will hold you at an angle perfectly, but the angle is going to go up and down like that as the machine follows the reference side. So the only way to cure that is either to have them take the suite or the rover and go down and mark down your path, your grades, so you can turn your slope on and then dial the grades and hit their numbers to create your own reference side. You can do that. Or you're going to have to start from the new curb and gutter that's already established and use that as your reference and cut up towards center line. And then when they hit the center line of the road, then you go to the curb on the other side and work your way back up to center line. That way is another way to use slope. And speaking of contractors, this is another rant of mine. When they order the wrong machine for the job, or they order a machine and they don't have the proper prep for the machine to get to the job. So some things there we run into is, say, no room for the transport. So if you're going to order a milling machine for rental, it's going to come in on a low bed. Not that you can't be in a tight area, but if you are in a tight area, make room for the low bed. Have a place for them to park, because the low bed's more than likely going to stay with the machine all day. So you need a place for the low bed. You need water for the machine. So contractors a lot of times forget that you have to fill a milling machine with water. So you need water for your machine. So either have a water truck, have a water meter, but you need to have water. And getting the right machine for the job. A lot of times there'll be a job with a bunch of little corners to get into, and they'll want everything out, leave nothing behind, and they'll send out a full-size mill with the drum in the center of the machine, which obviously then you can't back up into corners. So sometimes you do need a 4-foot machine, like a 120 or 130, something like that has the cutter on the back so you can back into those corners. So contractors, don't be shy on asking the dispatcher, or if the dispatcher doesn't know what machine would be best for you, to refer you to one of their operators and have them tell you what machine is best for you. And don't pick the machine just because it's the cheaper rate, because it may end up costing you more money and more work in the long run. The quantity may be small, but the average extra work you're going to have to do may not equal out that cost savings. So water for the machine, space for a low bed, and getting the right machine for the job is key. So there are some tips on slope. There's some tips on ordering the right machine. Just kind of another random talking point. A lot of times I get asked how I got into this. I've been doing this, running machines for a little over 27 years now. I started right when I was 18, 19 years old. It was my very first job after paper route. I was delivering papers, and my buddy said, "Hey, you want to come do this with me? My boss is looking for some extra help. He needs help doing traffic control and putting no parking signs up and things like that." I was like, "Sure, whatever, okay." It turns out it was for an asphalt milling company, and I very quickly ended up on the machines and not doing that, and started as a ground man, then started as a operator on a 1200 back then, and worked my way up to operating the half lane machines. Back then it was a 1900 DC, the old 1900 DCs with the mechanical throttle. Most people don't even remember that. It looked like a big boat throttle. You just push the thing, go full throttle. It was pretty cool. Steering wheel, and those were awesome machines back then. They would blow away the cats, blow away the CMIs, all of those. There was the machine, man, but it's so archaic looking back now. So Dave T in the comments, what do you do when you jump an inlet? They have the button to hit to jump, but it dumps millings into the inlet. Would it be wise to cover with an old sign? Think I'm understanding what you're talking about. Are you talking about like a storm drain? You can pick up and have the machine skim over it, but it's just going to scoop everything into the storm drain, it sounds like you're talking about. What I like to do with those, yeah, that feature wouldn't work well for that if that's what you're talking about. What I usually do is I'll actually, while the machine is down, I'll grind up to it just before the lower conveyor is going to be over the edge of the grate, and then I'll pick up the machine very, very little, just slightly, and I'll back away from it. And what that'll do is it uses the front door or the front of the milling housing where the lower conveyor is as a blade, and it'll kind of scrape that material back. So it'll pull it back, and it'll kind of like you would if you were running a mixer. And then pick up high enough to jump the drain so that I don't drop a bunch of stuff in it, and then sit down and take off again. That's how I handle that anyways. Because if you just pick straight up, usually you have to pick up so high to prevent anything from getting dumped in when your back door scrapes over the top of your pile. But if you blade the pile back first and jump over it, that's kind of the method I use. But yeah, if you use the active, what do they call it? Active liftover, I think is what it's called. It'll literally blade every single bit of it into the drain, and your back door will probably catch the drain and tear some stuff up. So I hope that answers your question. Let's see. Where did that window go back? There it is. Cool. Glad that makes sense. Any other questions? Anybody just fire them away here. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep on kind of ranting on different topics. What's some other frustrations anybody's run into on job sites? We can rant about contractors for a little bit. If anybody has any of those. For some reason my software isn't letting me see who's all here. We'll get the bugs out of this. It's kind of fun doing these live streams, so. Most of the time now, Dave, they put felt or fabric or something like that under the drain plate so that even if anything does get in there, it doesn't actually get in the drain. But sometimes they get lazy and they don't do that, and then they come back and get mad at the milling operator when stuff gets in the drain. Then in the same breath, they'll complain you didn't get close enough. No-win situation. Any questions on slope control? I know that's been a talking point lately. People have been asking for information about that or how to run the equipment. So anyway, back to how I got started. We talk about that. So explain slope, please. Okay. That's Wiz, I think, is the best way to pronounce all that. So what is slope control? We'll go back to that. So slope is basically, use my little level here again. It's one of these built into the machine. But the difference is you can set where you want it to be. You can set it to stay here, and it will stay there no matter what. And it'll have a reference side and a slope side. So in this case, this hand is going to be my reference side. This needs to be perfectly stable where you want everything to go. So you want to know what the slope number is going to be and know what your reference side needs to be, which is usually a new curb and gutter or a depth they give you on the ground. But like I was saying before, you have to be aware of that reference side, the side that's stable that you're reading slope from. If it's going like this up and down the road, then your slope is going to go like this up and down the road too, and it's going to amplify it. So you have to read from something consistent, something stable, and something set. Like a lot of times they'll say, follow the crown of the road and cut a 2% down towards the curb and gutter. Well, that will work, but if the crown of the road isn't at a consistent grade, if it's going like this, then you're gonna mirror that all the way down to the curb. It's gonna stay that way. You need to either dial through those imperfections or have a string line or something like that to follow off of. Hope that makes sense. Do you know why one side of the machine lowers first when you hit both A? Typically that will happen sometimes if you're on an angle, just because the weight of the machine is on one side, so it can evacuate the hydraulic fluid. But so it'll, because the weight is on that side, it'll push it down more quickly, I guess you could say. But most of the time what it is a lazy valve. The actual valves, the solenoids in the machine that open and close or raise and lower the legs, the coils get old after time, and it takes more current to pull the coil open, to open the valve, so it gets lazy and that side will get slower. When it's a brand new machine, it could just be in the settings, because you can go in the settings of the machine. You have to have a IPR code from the factory, but you can go in there and adjust the current that goes to those coils. But if it were me, I would say find the valve, the raise and lower valve for the side that's the slowest, and I would change the coils, or I'd swap the coil on the valves side to side and see if the slow side becomes the other side now, if that makes sense. Use it as a troubleshooting. So if the left side is slow and the right side is fast, you can loosen the nut on the back of those coils, unplug the coil, slide it off, slide it on the other side, flip-flop, and see if the problem reverses itself. Then you'll know that you have a bad coil. So those are the reasons I've seen. So Futonic says, how long would it usually take to be fully trained to become a full grinder operator? You can learn how to run a machine in about 2 days. Learning what each button does. Now, learning how to run a machine well, probably a good year of doing it every day. Then learning how to get good, many years after that. It's pretty easy basically to learn what the buttons do. They all have a picture on them. Once somebody tells you that's what it does, then you know. But until you've seen enough different situations to run across all the same problems and know how to work those problems, I guess is the best way to put it. Because running the machine is the easy part. It's running the machine in the situations that you're going to be in is the hard part, if that makes sense. So it takes you a while to see all the different situations, whether you're in deep inner city, whether you're doing dig outs, whether you're doing wedge cutting, whether, high traffic, low traffic, night jobs, airports, all that good stuff. So it takes a little while to do every different situation. So Dave unloaded the mill and realized it was at 8% on the trailer. Seemed kind of sketchy. Ended up leveling it to unload, but still was hairy. Yeah, that can be, especially when the deck of the trailer is wet. and you slide. That's always fun. Got to pick a flat spot. When you drop and then you got to try to pick it up with the truck later and try to have the ramps not slip off. That's even fun. More fun when you back up under your trailer and it jumps off the rails. Been there. You do any work in San Francisco, you have to deal with those slopes. But yep, just level the machine out and go slow. That's all you can do. I was on a job last night and I was grinding a super on a mountain road going around a corner, and it got to 18.5%, I think, before I was afraid enough that I started lifting up on one side to try to flatten myself out. So, and those cross slopes are sketchy, especially when you're going on off a trailer. So when full depth milling, do you recommend using the small ski on the zero side? Running the end gate sometimes digs in, or any tips for that? When full depth milling, small ski on the zero side. Are you talking about the little drop shoe on the front, on the inside by the conveyor? Not following what you mean on the small ski. And with the end gate digging in, you can use the MDI to be able to see if it's digging in. I've explained that, I think, before on some of my past videos. Or basically just by feel, you can lock it up sometimes. You can bump it up and lock it. So are you talking about pulverizing, like so that there's a bunch of the rabbit foot? Okay. Are you talking about pulverizing where like the side plate is in the material, in the milled material, or are you talking about the side plate sinking in the soft material? Because I've had that happen before too. And in that case, yes, the rabbit foot was what I would use because it stays up on the solid asphalt. It may not be perfect at holding the zero, but it'll be a whole lot closer than the side plate digging into the soft base and having to try to fight that. I think now as I'm saying that makes more sense with your comment, running the end gate. So what you can do is you can set down before the end gate has started sinking and get a reference point. Set it in and get it to zero and the side plate's not sunk. Then you can drop the rabbit foot and match that grade, whatever it ends up being, because that usually is not completely accurate, and that'll hold you as close as possible to that. Either way, it'll be a whole lot better than the side plate digging in. I've been trying to find the hydraulic tank or to refill on a 200i. Do you know where it is located? The hydraulic tank on a 200i is on the back left-hand side of the machine, if I remember right. We raise the hood. I'm trying to remember now. Raise the hood all the way up. And yes, if you're looking towards the back of the machine, standing on the operator's panel, the hydraulic tank is on the back right-hand side, behind the electrical panel. Yes, side plate is digging in and going full depth. Never dealt with the base being this soft before. So if the ground is really flat too, you can kind of get away with using slope sometimes to handle that, or just shut the grade off completely and just run it manually on that side. As long as the tracks are on fairly flat ground, it's not going to move much. And really, if it's a full depth mill like that, normally they don't really care about the match being really perfect. They just want a fairly consistent depth. I'll have to put a video out on how to use the leg height gauges because that really comes in handy for that. There's actually a number in your display, kind of like the MDI, that'll show you how far in or out the legs are on the machine, so you can kind of use that as a grade reference. Like if you set down like at a consistent depth on both sides, like 3 inches on each side, those numbers will be nearly identical. So it's kind of another gauge you can use to know how deep you're going. funny, Dave, talking about those cross slopes. You ever been on one so bad that you have to crawl all 4 tracks uphill and you're still sliding down trying to hold yourself on line? That's always fun. Had that happen the other night when my cat's waking up. He's our mascot. But mountain roads, those are fun. Hey, you're welcome. Not sure I had that name there, HS. It's not flat at all. It's a blast pad airport. Did one 6-inch lift to start, and it's ranging now from 3 to 10 to get full depth. It's funny at the airports that you have soft material, because usually they have CTB under the asphalt for like feet. Whenever I've worked at some of the bigger airports, man, you get through the asphalt, then it's CTB, and that concrete base is 3-4 feet deep sometimes. Maybe that's what you're talking about. You're trying to get under that to get down to the dirt. Like I say, the full depth mills, they usually don't care too much about it being perfect. It's more of our own pride, wanting to make it look perfect. So Dave, haven't had that year, second year in city work. City work is fun. I like that honestly more than being out in the country because there's more to look at. Makes the day go by faster. I used to do a lot of San Francisco grinding, and that was every day you come home with a story from San Francisco. It was great. A lot of challenges though, a lot of hills. That is one loud airplane. Is any of that stuff with slope making any sense? The people have been asking questions. It's a complicated thing to explain, but fairly simple in practice, if that makes sense. Once you use it. So some of these people here in the chat, how did you get into this business? Yeah, milling is fun. For some odd reason, it's I think what I like about it the most is you're the main thing on the job site when you're out there milling. Everybody on the entire job is supporting what you're doing. So it's kind of like, I don't know, makes you feel important, I guess. Yeah, how did you guys get into milling? Was it a friend? Was it just a job you applied for? Just kind of migrated that way from other equipment? Say with me, it was a friend that got me into it. I used to play with Tonka trucks my entire childhood, so it was always a dream to run heavy equipment. I'd go find the job sites in my neighborhood and ride on the tractors with everybody, and I was that kid. Anybody ever see what they used to do before they had grinders? They called heater machines, heater remixers. The person that got me into it used to run them. Crazy things. Basically, it was gigantic diesel burners that would melt the asphalt, and then it had these claw scratchers on the back. Looked so archaic, like something out of Beetlejuice or something. That would scratch up the asphalt, and then they'd use a blade to create the wedge cut. They actually have a blade come behind you and scrape it. It's crazy. So Dave, road department, drove trucks beforehand, enjoying the engineering aspect. Yeah. It's kind of like being a blade man for asphalt in a way. Paving for 5 years prior, first year milling, enjoying milling much more. Yeah, I bet. You get to make the mess and the pavers get to clean it up behind you and make it look good again. I always have that saying, if you mess something up, a little asphalt will fix that. And then the pavers are shaking their heads and cussing you, going, yeah, right. See, I've worked for four different milling companies right now, and you definitely see a big difference between all of them. The one I'm at now is nice because I'm close to home. That's nice. One before that, I had to stay out of town a lot. I don't know if you guys do like that or not. That's staying out in hotels, but it's part of the game. But hotels are not so much for me. I like working for a company I can get home every day. Not on the miller and the Bobcat with the planer. It's one thing I haven't done yet. I haven't run the Bobcat grinder, the little mini machine. How is that? Is that difficult to learn compared to the big machine? Started as shovel man for Asphalt crew. OG started a day after me. He was the one who got running top. Nice. It's nice when people are willing to train. That's kind of the reason I'm trying to do this channel, is there is nothing out there online, really. A couple of articles by Workin, that's about it. Maybe a handful, one or two of videos for the mills, but a lot of them are super old. So I'm fortunate enough to be around a lot of newer equipment, so I get to play with the latest and greatest. Like, we're using that 3D grade control the other day, and that's completely new to me. I'm looking forward to learning that. The 3D grade control that's some incredible technology right there. Yep, it's all you can do. Try and keep getting better. The one thing that seems like it'd be cool about running the little mini grinder like that is that if you have decent equipment anyway, depending on what your situation is, you have heat and air conditioning and a radio. I don't know if you can hear the radio or not, but that always seemed kind of neat. My dream is to have a half lane mill, a big like 210 FI with the enclosed cab, the little pod you sit in and you slide back and forth on the machine and turn around. Being able to run a grinder with air conditioning, oh man, that would be sweet. You know, it's funny. I'm in Southern California now, and every job has those little Bobcat grinders, little mini grinders. And up in the Bay Area here in California, everybody uses jackhammers still. Nobody uses the mini grinder. I don't get it. It's so much easier. Or even using the hammer in the Bobcat instead of jackhammering by hand. It's like, why would you jackhammer by hand? That's like most archaic, old school thing now. We have technology for that. Your channel is the best, helping me so much learn the ground. Nothing out here like it. Think your channel will explode. Good. I sure hope it'll explode. That's the point. And everybody here, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I'm trying to hit these milestones with YouTube so that it gets the channel out there to everybody. It's not as easy as it looks to make YouTube happy. I'm still working on a microphone system so that I can record while I'm running the machine and you can hear me. That's going to be a game changer once I figure that out. I don't know if anybody has any suggestions, if they've used something that'll work for that. Maybe do voiceover, but that just seems like it'd be so hard to make work, but I may have to try it because I think I'm almost at my limit of what I can show with the machine off. So that brings up another point. What do you guys want to learn about next? What's the thing out there that needs to be taught on these machines that I might be able to help with? seeing slope in action might help, but you need an old school grade checker to teach you slope. That's about the only way you can really pick it up and understand it. But it definitely will get you in trouble if you try to use it in places you shouldn't. But what's the number one challenge you guys see that I could help out a new guy with? As a laborer on the ground, how can I help the machine operator? Piles. I think making sure that there's no piles that the tracks are going to drive over. A lot of people that don't run the machines don't understand that the grade control on that machine can only react so fast. And if you're tracking along at a good pace and you hit a pile you don't see, it just throws the grade completely out of whack. It'll leave a big hole in the ground or a big high spot. So keeping the area clear where the tracks are going to drive and being there ahead of time to shovel out the end of the cut so the operator can see where to stop at the end to make it line up. Because the closer he can make it line up, the less handwork you're going to have to do cleaning up the edge anyway. So the more you can help him with that, the better. But that's the main thing, is keeping the tracks clear and helping with the trucking, because we all know it. Truck drivers sometimes are frustrating. Let's just say that. Frustrating. So having somebody on the ground that can help with your trucks is great. Let's see. As soon as I seen your vid, subscribe right then. Awesome. Appreciate that. We want to see content like full street mill or something. So you guys like those videos where I just have them record the machine going, like the hard hat camera type of things? Or I've been doing some of that just to get content on YouTube. So it's becoming more of a thing now for there just to be a solo operator on the big machines. Is it still like that everywhere, or you guys have ground guys that are running the depth control? Yes, so you want more milling content. Tips for chasing concrete. Have a camera on your back door of the machine. If you have the new machines that have the camera on the back, it makes it much easier. But pretty much for chasing concrete, are you talking about grinding asphalt on top of concrete, or are you talking about the gutter edge? You have guys on the side, so more than one ground man. That must be nice. Yeah, one guy. That's more typical. Yeah, here now it's pretty much everyone is running no ground man. The operator is a solo operator, and that's it. Which, in a way I kind of like better. Then there's only one brain. One person making decisions. No one's talking about, I think we should do it this way, or I think we should do it that way. I hit less iron, make less mistakes, because I'm not relying on somebody else to remember or know something is there. How many times I've gotten in trouble thinking like, oh, he sees that, and then kablam, I hit it, and like, oh, I guess he didn't see that. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but once you learn to run without a ground man and do everything yourself, you'll never go back. The only time you miss it is when you gotta change teeth. Any tips on trying to just profile a type of road? If you see like a low spot, like two high spots and a low spot. So like you have a high spot and then dips down and then goes back up again. It looks pretty consistent. You can switch to slope in that low spot, and that'll help. And just watch the actual on your side plate, because you know when you switch to slope, your side plate goes to the middle screen and you can still read the actual. So like say if it was 6 inches, you can switch to slope and watch it go through that low spot. It'll go 4, 3, 2 or whatever it is, and then back 4, 5, 6, and then turn it back on, switch it back over to grade. You can use that kind of stuff. Some people play around with the multiplex, where you have a sensor on the very front, sensor on the very back, and then the middle sensor, and it makes the machine basically a giant averaging ski like the pavers have. That works really well too. But trying to find something consistent to start from, like the curb and gutter, something like that. But yeah, you can use slope for that. Asphalt on top of concrete, like bridge decks down to the membrane. Normally you can feel it. If you're running the machine and you're dialing the grade, you feel when you hit concrete. There's a definite difference between the feel of the machine between asphalt and concrete. Solo operating DMARC structures out before. Yeah, sometimes the contractor will give me a guy that's just his sole job is to mark metal. Sometimes I'll walk the job beforehand and do it myself. I'll mark things out. That's kind of how I prefer to do it. And when I pick the machine up and I'm backing up for my next pass, I try to do it far enough away from the edge so that I can see my entire next pass as I'm backing up. So if there's something I need to mark, I can stop real quick and jump off and mark it. A lot of it's just memory, just remembering what was there or walking the job ahead of time. Especially if it's just like one street you're doing that you can walk in the morning before the shift and mark everything out. Then that helps. Even if it gets covered up, you can still see a mark here and there to remind you something's there. Yep, one mind focused, exactly. As far as making a messed up road look good again, it just comes to experience and time and using your sensors to work for you. You know, a lot of times it's just, you may still have to do it a couple of times to get all the dips and valleys out of everything and get it to look good again. What's your favorite color of paint to use to mark stuff out? Sounds like a stupid question, but we know we all have one. Mine is silver. The chrome silver paint. Some guys like pink, some guys like orange, some guys like white. Some guys flat out refuse to use other colors. We have our favorites. We're a weird bunch. So we got somebody working at an airport. You rather see white paint? Yeah. Yeah, ground man walking with the machine, the operator points stuff out. Yep. White is okay. I don't mind white paint. I prefer the silver. It glows, especially on the cameras. When the cameras get over that silver paint, it's really bright, so it helps you see stuff that if you circle the manholes and valves and things like that, when they pass under the cameras, it'll light it up really good. If you have cameras, most of our machines do, so they're a lifesaver. Well, guys, we talked about a lot of different things, but I'm going to have to shut this thing down now. And if you guys are liking these live streams, let me know. I'll try to do another one. I'll put out a short to let you know when it's coming. But definitely keep liking the videos and subscribe. Helps me a ton. see, one more question here. What's the importance of one of the skis at 0? Because I see sometimes on the monitor it's 1.5 and the other is at 0 or 0.5. So we don't have cameras on this machine. Day work. Thank you for this live. No problem, Dave. I'll answer this question for Maxwell real quick. So usually when you see one side being at 0 is because that's on the second pass. So 0 meaning you're cutting 0 from what the sensor is reading. You're matching that previous cut. So if you were to cut 1, you'd be cutting an inch deeper than your last cut, if that makes sense. So 0 is basically like flush. You're cutting flush to the second cut, and you're still holding your grade 1.5 or 2 or whatever it is on the other side. Do we do a lot of GPS milling in California? You know, I'm in Southern California now. I used to be in the Northern California area, and down in Southern California, yes, GPS is a thing. GPS seems to be a thing down here, and it's crazy. It's just all a model in the software, and you just literally turn the machine on, and it just will set down right to what it needs to do and go. It blew my mind how accurate it is. Never used multiplex or seen it in action. Well, if you've seen an averaging ski on a paver, that's basically what it is. You have a long arm on the front of the machine and a long arm on the back with a sensor on each end. And then it reads the middle sensor. So it takes all those 3 points and ends up like, I don't know, probably 30 feet long, and averages everything. So it takes out a lot of bumps. We don't use it much, otherwise I'd get a video out for you how to use it, but it works. Live stream is awesome. Definitely do it again. Have a great night. All right. I'm going to get out of here. Everybody have a great night. I don't know where you all are located, but next time I'll put out a little bit of a heads up so you know when the live stream's coming. I was just trying to work the bugs out tonight, get the system working. So everybody have a good night. Stay safe on your jobs until we talk later. See ya.